You're lying to yourself and you don't even know it. Every morning you tell yourself, today's going to be different. Today I'm going to focus. Today I'm going to get it done. Today I'm going to be that person. And by noon you're already off track, distracted, reacting to whatever comes your way, living on autopilot, again. And the worst part? You've gotten so used to this pattern that you think it's just who you are. Like you're wired this way, like you don't have a choice. But that's the biggest lie of all. Because you do have a choice. You've always had a choice. You just haven't made it yet. Most people will go their entire lives never realizing that everything they want is on the other side of one thing, one shift, one decision. And it's not about working harder. It's not about having more time or better circumstances. It's about what's happening in the space between your ears. Your mind, that's the battlefield. That's where everything is won or lost. You can have the perfect strategy, the best opportunities, all the resources in the world. But if your mind isn't right, if it's weak, if it's undisciplined, you're gonna lose every single time. And you already know this is true because you've seen it in your own life. You've had moments where you knew exactly what to do, but you didn't do it. Where you had the opportunity right in front of you, but you hesitated. Where you could have pushed through, but you quit instead. That wasn't a lack of ability. That was your mind getting in the way. And until you fix that, nothing else changes. The game isn't played in the world. The game is played in your head. Everything you want, everything you're trying to build, every goal you're chasing, it all starts and ends in your mind. And if you can't control that, if you can't master that space between your ears, nothing else matters. You can have the best strategy, the perfect plan, all the resources in the world. But if your mind is weak, if it's cluttered, if it's undisciplined, you're going to lose every single time. The elite mind isn't something you're born with. Nobody came out of the womb with mental clarity and unshakable focus. It's built, it's forged. Through repetition, through discipline, through choosing better thoughts over and over again until those thoughts become your default. But most people never do this work. They let their minds run wild like an untrained animal. They react to everything. They get triggered by the smallest things. Someone cuts them off in traffic and their whole day is ruined. Someone says something sideways and they can't let it go for hours. They scroll through social media and suddenly they feel like garbage because everyone else looks happier, richer, more successful. And they don't realize they're doing this to themselves. They're giving away their power. They're letting external things control their internal state. And that's the ultimate weakness. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. There's no middle ground. Either you control it or it controls you. Either you decide what thoughts get attention, or your thoughts decide what kind of day you're going to have. And the scary part is most people have never even tried to take control. They think their thoughts just happen to them, like they're a victim of their own brain. But that's not how it works. You have more control than you think. You just haven't exercised that control. You haven't built that muscle. So your mind does whatever it wants and you just go along for the ride. Anxious when it decides to be anxious. Angry when it decides to be angry. Depressed when it decides to focus on everything wrong. You're a passenger in your own life and you don't even know it. The elite mind doesn't operate like this. The elite mind is selective, intentional, focused. It doesn't entertain every thought that pops up. It doesn't give energy to things that don't matter. It knows what deserves attention and what deserves to be ignored. And that's a skill. That's something you practice. You don't wake up one day and suddenly have this ability. You develop it by catching yourself, by noticing when your mind is going somewhere useless and redirecting it, by stopping the spiral before it starts. Most people let one negative thought turn into 10. Then those 10 turn into a whole narrative. And before they know it, they've convinced themselves they're not good enough. They'll never make it. Everything is falling apart. All from one thought they could have dismissed in the first 5 seconds. You ever notice how the most successful people seem calm, even when chaos is happening around them, even when things aren't going according to plan? They're not freaking out, they're not spiraling, they're steady. And it's not because they don't face problems. It's because they've trained their mind not to add unnecessary drama to those problems. They see things for what they are, not worse, not catastrophic, just what they are. And then they handle it. No panic, no overthinking, just action. That's what the elite mind does. It stays present. It stays focused on what can be controlled. It doesn't waste energy on what can't be changed. And that alone puts you ahead of 99% of people. Because most people are stuck in their heads, worried about the future, replaying the past, never actually here, never actually locked in on the current moment. And the current moment is the only place where anything actually happens. You can't change yesterday. It's done. You can't control tomorrow. It hasn't arrived yet. All you have is right now, this second, this breath, this decision. And if you can't be here for this, fully present, fully engaged, then you're missing your life. You're missing the only chance you have to actually create something. The elite mind understands this. It's not thinking about last week's failure while trying to execute today. It's not worried about next month's deadline while working on right now's task. It's here, fully, completely. And that focus is what creates results. Distractions are everywhere. We live in a world designed to steal your attention. Notifications, messages, news, drama, entertainment. Everyone wants a piece of your mental energy. And if you're not careful, if you're not intentional, you'll give it all away. You'll spend your whole day reacting to other people's agendas and have nothing left for your own. You'll feel busy but accomplish nothing. You'll feel tired but haven't actually built anything. That's the trap. That's what keeps people stuck. They're engaged with everything except what matters. Their mind is everywhere except where it needs to be. And they wonder why they're not progressing. They wonder why they're not growing. It's because their energy is scattered. Their focus is split. And you can't build anything real with a divided mind. The elite mind protects its energy like it's the most valuable resource on earth. Because it is. You only have so much. You only have so much mental capacity in a day. So you better be selective about what gets it. You better be ruthless about what you say yes to and what you say no to. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you're saying no to something that does. Every time you engage with drama, with gossip, with negativity, you're taking energy away from your goals, from your growth, from your purpose. And that's a choice. Whether you realize it or not, you're choosing where your mind goes. And if you're not choosing intentionally, then it's choosing for you, and it's probably choosing poorly. Let's talk about fear. Because fear lives in the mind, and most people let it run the show. They don't pursue the opportunity because they're afraid they'll fail. They don't start the business because they're afraid they're not ready. They don't have the conversation because they're afraid of what might happen. And all of this is mental. It's not real. The fear isn't based on facts. It's based on stories they've told themselves. Stories about who they are, what they're capable of, what might go wrong. And those stories feel real. They feel true, but they're not. They're just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. The elite mind doesn't eliminate fear. That's not realistic. Fear is always going to show up. But the elite mind doesn't let fear make decisions. It feels the fear and moves anyway. It acknowledges the discomfort and does the thing anyway. Because it knows that on the other side of fear is everything it wants. Growth, progress, success. All of it requires moving through fear. Not around it, through it. And here's what most people don't get. The fear doesn't go away once you succeed. It just changes. You hit one goal and now there's a bigger goal with bigger fears attached to it. You level up and the stakes get higher. The pressure increases, the doubts get louder. That's part of the process. The elite mind expects this. It doesn't think there's some magical point where everything feels easy and comfortable. It knows that discomfort is the price of growth. It knows that if you're not feeling some level of fear or doubt, you're probably not pushing hard enough. You're probably playing it safe. And playing it safe is the slowest way to die. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. You just fade into mediocrity and wonder what could have been. Your mind will try to keep you safe. That's its default programming. It wants to avoid pain, avoid risk, avoid anything that might hurt. And in the past, that made sense, when survival was the main concern. But we're not running from lions anymore. The things we're afraid of now aren't life or death. They're just uncomfortable. Rejection, failure, embarrassment. None of these things will kill you. But your mind treats them like they will. It sends the same alarm signals, the same panic response. And if you listen to that every time, you'll never do anything meaningful. You'll stay small, you'll stay stuck, you'll stay safe. And safe is another word for invisible, another word for forgotten. The elite mind rejects safety. It chooses growth over comfort, challenge over convenience. It would rather fail trying than succeed at playing small. Discipline is a mental game. People think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. And sure, sometimes that's part of it. But real discipline is about training your mind to want the right things, to value long-term rewards over short-term pleasure, to see the bigger picture when everything in you wants to quit. Most people can be disciplined for a day, maybe even a week. But when it gets hard, when it gets boring, when nobody's watching, they fold. They go back to what's easy. And that's because their mind isn't trained. Their why isn't strong enough. Their vision isn't clear enough. They're operating on motivation, and motivation runs out. The elite mind doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on identity, on becoming the type of person who does this thing regardless of how they feel. That's the shift. That's the difference. You want to build an elite mind? Start by deciding who you are, not who you want to be, not who you hope to be, who you are right now, today, because your actions flow from your identity. If you see yourself as someone who quits when it gets hard, you'll quit. If you see yourself as someone who follows through no matter what, you'll follow through. It's that simple. Your mind will align with whatever identity you feed it. So stop feeding it weak stories. Stop calling yourself lazy. Stop saying you're not disciplined. Stop identifying with your past failures. That's not who you are anymore. That's who you were. And you get to decide who you're becoming, right now, in this moment. You get to choose a new identity and start acting like that person today. Visualization is real. It's not some mystical thing. It's practical. Your mind doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. That's why athletes visualize their performance. That's why high performers mentally rehearse difficult situations. They're programming their mind for success before it happens. They're creating mental pathways that make the actual execution easier. But most people don't do this. They visualize failure. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They mentally rehearse all the ways things could go wrong. And then they're surprised when things go wrong. Your mind is always working. It's always creating. The question is, what are you creating? What are you feeding it? What images are you running through your head on repeat? Because whatever that is, that's what you're going to experience more of. The elite mind is deliberate about this. It doesn't accidentally focus on negativity. It doesn't let random thoughts shape its reality. It chooses what to focus on. It chooses what to visualize. It sees the outcome it wants, and then it works backward from there. What would that version of me do today? How would that version of me handle this situation? What decision would that version of me make? And then it does that. It doesn't wait to feel like it. It doesn't wait until it's ready. It acts like the person it's becoming until it becomes that person. That's how you build an elite mind, through intentional thought and intentional action. Over and over and over again. Your environment shapes your mind more than you realize. The people you're around, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in, all of it is programming you. If you're surrounded by people who complain, you'll start complaining. If you're consuming content that makes you feel inadequate, you'll start feeling inadequate. If you're in environments that accept mediocrity, you'll accept mediocrity. This isn't judgment, it's just how it works. Your mind absorbs what it's exposed to, so you have to be intentional about what you expose it to. You have to protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. The elite mind curates its environment. It removes things that drain energy. It adds things that inspire growth. It surrounds itself with people who are on a similar path, who are building, who are growing, who are challenging themselves. Not because they're better than anyone else, but because they're serious about becoming better than they used to be. Negative self-talk is a killer. Most people don't even realize how mean they are to themselves. They would never talk to another person the way they talk to themselves in their own head. They're constantly criticizing, doubting, tearing themselves down, and they think this is normal. They think this is just how it is, but it's not. This is a habit, a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be changed. The elite mind doesn't tolerate negative self-talk. It catches it, challenges it, replaces it. You mess up? Okay. What did you learn? What will you do differently next time? Move on. You don't need to beat yourself up for hours. That doesn't help. That doesn't make you better. It just makes you weaker. It drains your energy. It reinforces the identity of someone who fails. And that's the last thing you need. Start talking to yourself like you're someone you're responsible for helping. Because you are. You're the only person who's going to be with you for your entire life. So you better be on your own team. You better be your own biggest supporter. Not in a delusional way. Not ignoring reality. But in an empowering way. In a way that acknowledges the challenge and also acknowledges your ability to handle it. You've handled everything that's come your way so far. Every hard day, every setback, every disappointment. You're still here. That's proof. That's evidence that you're capable. So stop doubting yourself and start reminding yourself of what you've already overcome. Clarity is power. Confusion is weakness. If you don't know what you want, you'll waste years chasing things that don't matter. You'll achieve goals that leave you empty. You'll climb ladders only to realize they were leaning against the wrong wall. The elite mind is clear, crystal clear. It knows what it wants, why it wants it, and what it's willing to sacrifice to get it. This clarity eliminates distractions. It makes decisions easier. It provides a filter for everything. Does this move me closer to what I want or further away? If it's further away, it's a no. Simple. Most people don't have this clarity. They're vague. They say they want success, but they haven't defined what that means. They say they want to be happy, but they don't know what makes them happy. So they drift. They try a little of everything and master nothing. They stay busy but never build anything meaningful. Get clear. Write it down. What do you actually want? Not what you think you should want. Not what other people want for you. What do you want? Be specific. Be honest. And then ask yourself why. Why do you want this? Because if your why is weak, you'll quit. If your why is someone else's expectation, you'll resent the process. But if your why is deep, if it's connected to who you are and who you want to become, you'll find a way. The elite mind has a why that's bigger than the obstacles, bigger than the fear, bigger than the discomfort. and that's what keeps it going when everything else says stop. You're going to fail, a lot. That's not a motivational line, that's a fact. You're going to try things that don't work. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short of your own expectations. And the question isn't whether this will happen. The question is, how will you respond when it does? Most people let failure define them. They try something, it doesn't work, and they decide that means they're not cut out for it. They take it personally. They make it mean something about their worth, and that destroys them. Because failure isn't personal, it's information, it's feedback. It's telling you what didn't work so you can adjust and try again. The elite mind sees failure differently. It doesn't avoid failure. It expects it. It uses it. It learns from it. And then it moves forward. No drama, no self-pity, just adaptation. Every successful person you admire has failed more than you've even tried. Think about that. The people you look up to, the ones who seem like they have it all figured out, they've been rejected more times than you can count. They've had ideas that flopped, projects that went nowhere, investments that tanked, relationships that ended, and they kept going. That's the difference. Not that they didn't fail, but that failure didn't stop them. They didn't let one loss become their identity. They didn't let one setback define their future. They took the hit, learned the lesson, and tried again, and again, and again, until they figured it out. That's the elite mind, resilient, relentless, refusing to quit. Your mind is a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant doubt, you'll grow insecurity. If you plant fear, you'll grow anxiety. If you plant negativity, you'll grow bitterness. But if you plant possibility, you'll grow hope. If you plant discipline, you'll grow strength. If you plant gratitude, you'll grow peace. You're the gardener. You choose what seeds to plant, and you choose what weeds to pull. Most people let their mind become overgrown with weeds. They don't tend to it. They don't protect it. They let anything and everything take root, and then they wonder why they feel terrible, why they're stuck, why they can't break through. It's because they've neglected the most important space they have, their own mind. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life today. You just need to make one better choice, one better thought, one better action, and then do it again tomorrow and the next day. And the day after that, consistency compounds, small improvements stack, and over time, those tiny shifts create massive change. But you have to start. You have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. None of that is coming. You start messy, you start uncertain, you start afraid, and you figure it out as you go. That's how everyone does it. The elite mind doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait for confidence. It acts and builds confidence through action. The voice in your head is not always your friend. Sometimes it's protecting you. Sometimes it's trying to keep you safe. But sometimes it's lying to you. It's telling you you're not ready when you are. It's telling you you can't when you can. It's telling you to wait when you should move. Learn to recognize the difference. Learn to question the voice. Is this true or is this fear? Is this wisdom or is this weakness? Not every thought you have is worth listening to. The elite mind knows this. It doesn't believe everything it thinks. It evaluates. It challenges. It chooses which thoughts to follow and which thoughts to dismiss. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This is important. Most people identify with every thought that crosses their mind. They think if they have a negative thought, that means they're negative. If they have a doubtful thought, that means they're not confident. But that's not true. Thoughts are just mental events. They come and go. You don't have to claim them. You don't have to act on them. You can notice them, acknowledge them, and let them pass. The elite mind practices this. It creates distance between itself and its thoughts. It doesn't get swept away by every mental impulse. It stays grounded, centered, in control. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You're going to experience hard things, loss, disappointment, setbacks. That's part of being human. But how long you stay in that pain, how much you let it define you, that's a choice. Most people take their pain and turn it into a story. They replay it. They reinforce it. They let it become their identity, and they suffer far longer than necessary. The elite mind processes pain differently. It feels it, it acknowledges it, and then it moves through it. It doesn't avoid the emotion, but it also doesn't drown in it. It knows that pain is temporary if you don't hold on to it, if you don't keep reopening the wound, if you let it heal and move forward. Forgiveness is power. Holding on to anger, resentment, bitterness, that's poison. It doesn't hurt the person you're mad at. It hurts you. It keeps you stuck in the past. It keeps you focused on something you can't change, and that's a waste of your energy. The elite mind forgives, not because the other person deserves it, but because carrying that weight around is exhausting. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself. It's about releasing the grip that the past has on you. It's about choosing peace over being right. And that takes strength. That takes maturity. But it's necessary if you want to move forward. Gratitude shifts everything. When you focus on what you have, you feel abundant. When you focus on what you lack, you feel empty. It's the same life, same circumstances, different focus. The elite mind practices gratitude daily, not as some fake positivity exercise, but as a real recalibration of perspective. Because it's easy to focus on what's wrong. It's easy to see the problems, the gaps, the failures, but that perspective will drain you. It will make everything feel heavier than it is. Gratitude doesn't ignore the challenges. It just balances them with appreciation. And that balance is what keeps you sane, what keeps you motivated, what keeps you moving forward even when things are hard. Your standards determine your life. If your standards are low, you'll accept low. You'll tolerate mediocrity. You'll settle for less than you're capable of, and you'll justify it. You'll make excuses. You'll blame circumstances. But deep down, you'll know. You'll know you could have done more, been more, built more. The elite mind has high standards. Not in a judgmental way. Not in a way that makes life miserable. But in a way that refuses to settle. That refuses to accept less than what's possible. It holds itself accountable. It doesn't make excuses. It doesn't blame. It looks in the mirror and asks, what could I have done better? And then it does better. You don't need more time. You need more focus. Everyone has the same 24 hours, the same amount of time in a day. But some people build empires while others barely get through their to-do list. The difference isn't time. It's how that time is used. The elite mind is ruthless with its time. It doesn't waste hours on things that don't matter. It doesn't scroll. It doesn't procrastinate. It doesn't get distracted. It focuses on what moves the needle and ignores everything else. And that focus is a skill. It's something you build by saying no to distractions, by protecting your time, by being intentional with every hour. Stop waiting for permission. Nobody's going to tell you you're ready. Nobody's going to give you the green light. Nobody is going to validate your decision to go after what you want. You have to give yourself permission. You have to decide you're ready, even if you're not, even if you're scared, even if you don't have all the answers. The elite mind doesn't wait. It moves. It starts before it's ready. It figures things out along the way. Because waiting is just another form of quitting. It's just a slower, quieter version of giving up. And if you wait until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. Ready is a feeling that never comes. You just have to go. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you finally achieve that goal. right now, this moment. And if you're not present for it, you're missing it. You're living on autopilot, going through the motions, waiting for some future version of your life to start. But this is it. This is your life. And it's passing by while you're distracted, while you're worried, while you're focused on everything except what's right in front of you. The elite mind is present. It's here, fully engaged with whatever it's doing, not thinking about the past, not anxious about the future, just here. And that presence is where real living happens. That's where joy exists. That's where peace exists. Right here, right now. You are capable of more than you think, way more. The limits you think you have are mostly mental. They're stories, beliefs, assumptions. But they're not facts. You've barely scratched the surface of what you can do, what you can handle, what you can build. And the only way to find out what you're really capable of is to push past where you think your limits are, to keep going when you think you can't, to try things you think are impossible. The elite mind doesn't accept limits. It tests them, it challenges them, it breaks through them. Not because it's special, but because it refuses to believe the limitations that most people accept without question. Stop playing small. Stop dimming your light because you're worried about what other people will think. Stop holding back because you're afraid of being too much, too ambitious, too loud, too different. The world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs more people willing to take risks, to stand out, to go after what they want unapologetically. The elite mind doesn't shrink, it doesn't hide, it doesn't apologize for wanting more, for being more. It owns it, it embraces it, it shows up fully. And it doesn't care if that makes other people uncomfortable, because the right people will appreciate it, and the wrong people don't matter. Your mindset is everything. You can have all the talent in the world, all the resources, all the opportunities, but if your mindset is weak, none of it matters. You'll sabotage yourself. You'll find reasons why it won't work. You'll quit before you even really start. But if your mindset is strong, if it's trained, if it's elite, you can overcome almost anything. You can turn obstacles into opportunities. You can find solutions where others see dead ends. You can keep going when everyone else has stopped. That's the power of the mind. That's why it's the most important thing to master. Because everything flows from there. Your actions, your decisions, your results, all of it starts in your head. Build the elite mind, not for some distant future goal, but for today, for right now. Because the person you are today determines the life you'll have tomorrow. And if you want a different life, you need to become a different person. You need to think differently, act differently, show up differently. And that starts with your mind, with taking control, with refusing to let random thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances dictate your life. You're more powerful than you realize. You have more control than you think. But you have to claim it. You have to use it. You have to build it every single day. Until the elite mind isn't something you're trying to develop, it's just who you are. And when you get there, when you reach that point, everything changes. Not because the world changed, but because you did, and that makes all the difference. You want a break? You want to change? Then understand this. Nothing in this life transforms without first falling apart. You think change is this beautiful, clean process where you wake up one day and suddenly you're different. No, change is messy. Change is painful. Change requires you to shatter everything you thought you were and rebuild from the ground up. Look at yourself right now. Really look. Are you happy with what you see? Are you living the life you imagined when you were younger? Or are you stuck in the same patterns, the same routines, the same comfortable prison you built for yourself? Most people never change because they're too afraid to break. They'd rather stay comfortable in their misery than face the uncertainty of transformation. You know what your problem is? You want the results without the wreckage. You want the butterfly without the cocoon. You want the strong muscles without the torn fibers. You want the calloused hands without the blisters. But that's not how life works. That's not how growth works. Everything beautiful in this world came from something breaking first. Think about a seed. You plant it in the ground, and what happens? It breaks open. The shell cracks. The seed dies, so the plant can live. If that seed held on to its form, if it refused to break, it would stay a seed forever, buried, useless, dead. But when it surrenders to the break, when it allows itself to be destroyed, that's when life begins. That's when roots dig deep. That's when something new pushes through the soil and reaches for the sun. You are that seed right now, and you have a choice. You can stay intact, safe, unchanged, or you can break open and become something greater than you ever imagined. The question is, do you have the courage to let yourself fall apart? Most people don't. Most people cling to their old identity like a drowning man clings to a piece of driftwood. They hold on so tight their knuckles turn white. They convince themselves that who they are right now is who they'll always be. They wear their limitations like a badge of honor. This is just how I am, they say. I can't change, they say. And you know what? They're right. Not because they can't change, but because they won't break. Breaking is terrifying. Breaking means admitting you were wrong. Breaking means facing the parts of yourself you've been hiding from. Breaking means looking in the mirror and seeing all the ways you've failed yourself. Breaking means accepting that the life you're living isn't the life you want. And that's scary. That's why most people never do it. They'd rather live in denial than face the truth. But you're different. You're here right now because somewhere deep inside, you know you need to break. You know you need to change. You know that if you keep going the way you're going, 5 years from now you'll be in the exact same place. Only older, only more bitter, only more full of regret. And that terrifies you more than breaking ever could. So let's talk about what breaking really means. Breaking isn't giving up. Breaking isn't failure. Breaking is the conscious decision to destroy the version of yourself that's keeping you small. It's taking a hammer to the walls you built around your comfort zone. It's setting fire to the excuses you've been feeding yourself. It's drowning the voice in your head that keeps telling you you're not good enough. Breaking is violent. Breaking is aggressive. Breaking doesn't ask permission. You don't negotiate with your old self. You don't try to reason with your fears. You don't gently coax yourself into change. You force it. You grab yourself by the collar and you drag yourself through the fire whether you want to go or not. Because here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You will never feel ready to change. Never. You'll never wake up one morning and think, today's the perfect day to completely upend my life. That moment doesn't exist. That feeling doesn't come. You're waiting for confidence you'll never have. You're waiting for certainty in a world that offers none. You're waiting for permission from a universe that doesn't care if you waste your entire life waiting. Stop waiting. Start breaking. You want to know what's holding you back? It's not your circumstances. It's not your past. It's not the people around you. It's you. It's the story you keep telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. It's the identity you've wrapped yourself in like a security blanket. It's the comfortable lies you believe because the uncomfortable truth is too much to bear. You tell yourself you're not disciplined enough. You tell yourself you're not smart enough. You tell yourself you don't have enough time, enough money, enough support. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. You tell yourself you're different from everyone else who succeeded. You tell yourself you're special in your inability to change. Those are the chains. Those are the walls. Those are the bars of your self-made prison. And until you break them, until you smash them into pieces so small they can never be put back together, you will stay exactly where you are. So how do you break? You start by getting honest. Brutally, painfully, uncomfortably honest. You stop lying to yourself about why you're not where you want to be. You stop blaming your parents, your boss, your circumstances, your luck. You look yourself in the eye and you say, I am here because of the choices I made. I am here because I chose comfort over growth. I am here because I was too scared to bet on myself. That hurts, doesn't it? Good. It should hurt. Pain is the chisel that chips away at the marble to reveal the statue underneath. Pain is the fire that burns away the impurities to leave pure gold. Pain is your teacher, your guide, your proof that you're finally doing something that matters. But here's what they don't tell you about breaking. Once you start, you can't stop halfway. You can't crack a little bit and then glue yourself back together. You can't tear down half the walls and decide you like the cage better. When you commit to breaking, you have to go all the way. You have to burn the boats. You have to cut off your retreat. You have to make it impossible to go back to who you were. That means cutting out the people who keep you small. That means quitting the job that's killing your soul. That means ending the relationship that's draining your life force. That means saying no to the things that used to give you comfort but now only hold you back. That means becoming someone your old friends don't recognize. That means disappointing the people who preferred you weak. And that's where most people quit. Not at the beginning, but right here, right when the breaking starts to hurt people they care about. Right when their decision to change makes others uncomfortable. Right when their growth highlights other people's stagnation. They feel guilty. They feel selfish. They feel like they're doing something wrong. But you're not doing something wrong. You're doing something necessary. You're choosing yourself. And if people can't handle that, if people can't support that, then they were never your people to begin with. They were anchors disguised as companions. They were weights disguised as support systems. They were comfort disguised as love. Real love wants you to grow. Real love celebrates your breaking because it knows you're becoming. Real love doesn't ask you to stay small so others can feel big. Real love doesn't demand you remain broken so others don't have to face their own need to change. So break. Break loud. Break messy. Break in a way that makes people uncomfortable because your transformation reminds them of their own stagnation. Break in a way that inspires some and threatens others. Break in a way that's irreversible, undeniable, unstoppable. But here's the thing about breaking. It's not a one-time event. It's a process. It's daily. It's constant. Every single day you wake up and you have to choose to break a little more. You have to choose to kill the old habits that keep creeping back. You have to choose to silence the old voice that keeps whispering doubts. You have to choose to reject the old patterns that feel so familiar, so safe, so easy. Because your old self doesn't die easy. Your old self will fight for survival. Your old self will throw everything it has at you to make you quit. It will whisper in your weakest moments. It will seduce you with memories of easier times. It will convince you that change isn't worth it, that comfort is underrated, that you were fine the way you were. Don't listen. That voice is a liar. That voice is fear wearing a disguise. That voice is the last gasp of a dying identity that knows its time is over. Let it scream, let it beg, let it plead, and then let it die. You want to know what happens after you break? You rebuild. But not the same way, not with the same materials, not on the same foundation. You rebuild stronger. You rebuild wiser. You rebuild with intention instead of accident. You rebuild with purpose instead of habit. You rebuild into something the old you couldn't even imagine. Think about a bone that breaks. When it heals, when the calcium deposits harden, that bone becomes stronger at the break point than it was before. The weakest part becomes the strongest part. The breaking point becomes the power point. That's what happens to you when you allow yourself to break. The parts of you that shattered become the parts of you that are unbreakable. But you have to let it happen. You have to embrace the break. You have to stop resisting the pain and start using it. You have to stop seeing change as something happening to you and start seeing it as something you're choosing for yourself. And yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever experienced. There will be days when you question everything. Days when you wonder if you made a mistake. Days when the old life looks better than the new one because at least it was familiar. Days when you feel more broken than transformed. Those are the days that matter most. Those are the days when you prove to yourself what you're really made of. Those are the days when you either become who you're meant to be or you crawl back into who you were. Those are the days when winners are separated from quitters, when champions are separated from pretenders, when legends are separated from statistics. On those days, you don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. You don't need someone to hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay. You need to remember why you started breaking in the first place. You need to remember the person you were and the person you refused to become. You need to remember that staying broken in the old way is more painful than breaking into a new way. You think it's hard to change. It's harder to stay the same. It's harder to wake up every day knowing you're living below your potential. It's harder to go to bed every night with the weight of regret on your chest. It's harder to look at yourself in the mirror and see someone who gave up on their dreams because they were too scared to fight for them. That's the real pain. That's the pain that lasts. That's the pain that grows and spreads and eventually consumes everything good about you. That's the pain that turns into bitterness, resentment, anger at the world. That's the pain that makes you smaller with each passing year until there's nothing left but a shell of who you could have been. Breaking hurts, but staying broken hurts more. Changing is hard, but staying the same is harder. Transformation requires sacrifice, but stagnation requires your soul. So which pain do you choose? The pain that leads to growth, or the pain that leads to regret? The pain that's temporary, or the pain that's permanent? The pain that makes you stronger, or the pain that makes you smaller? Choose the break. Choose the change. Choose the transformation. Choose yourself. And when you make that choice, when you really commit to breaking, something incredible happens. The world starts to shift. Opportunities appear that weren't there before. People show up who support your journey. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Not because the universe rewards change, but because you become someone different. You become someone who sees opportunities instead of obstacles. You become someone who attracts support instead of sympathy. You become someone who opens doors instead of waiting for them to open. But none of that happens if you don't break first. None of that happens if you cling to the old version of yourself. None of that happens if you prioritize comfort over growth. You know what's funny? The things you're most afraid to break are usually the things holding you back the most. That relationship that makes you feel safe but keeps you small. That job that pays the bills but kills your spirit. That routine that feels comfortable but leads nowhere. That identity that's familiar but isn't you anymore. We hold on to these things like they're treasures when really they're chains. We protect them like they're precious when really they're poison. We defend them like they're part of us when really they're preventing us from becoming who we're meant to be. Let them go. Break them. Destroy them. Not out of anger, but out of love for yourself. Not out of hate for your past, but out of commitment to your future. Not because they're bad, but because you're ready for better. And here's what nobody tells you about breaking. It gets easier. Not because the breaking becomes less painful, but because you become stronger. The first break is terrifying. The second break is scary. The third break is uncomfortable. By the 10th break, you understand that breaking is just part of growth. You stop fearing it. You start expecting it. Eventually, you start seeking it out. Because once you understand that breaking leads to becoming, once you experience the transformation that comes from destruction, once you see who you can be when you're not holding on to who you were, you can never go back. You can never settle for staying the same. You can never accept stagnation when you know what growth feels like. That's when you become dangerous. Not dangerous to others, but dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to excuses, dangerous to limitations, dangerous to anything that tries to keep you small. You become a force that can't be stopped because you're not afraid to lose everything to become everything. Think about water. You can dam it up, you can redirect it, you can slow it down, but you can't stop it. It will find a way through, over, under, or around any obstacle. It will wear down mountains given enough time. It will carve canyons through solid rock. It's unstoppable not because it's strong, but because it's relentless. Because it doesn't resist breaking, it breaks constantly and keeps flowing. Be like water, break constantly, flow constantly, adapt constantly. Don't resist the obstacles. Break through them. Don't avoid the hard path. Let it break you into something harder. Don't fear the pressure. Let it break you into something more valuable. Because pressure creates diamonds. Heat creates steel. Struggle creates strength. And breaking creates the person you're meant to become. But you have to trust the process. You have to believe that the breaking has a purpose even when you can't see it. You have to have faith that the pain is productive even when it feels pointless. You have to know that you're not falling apart. You're falling into place. This is where most people lose heart. Right here in the middle of the breaking, when everything hurts and nothing makes sense, and the person they were is dead, but the person they're becoming hasn't arrived yet. They're in the void. They're in the gap. They're in the space between who they were and who they're becoming, and it's terrifying. But that void is sacred. That gap is necessary. That space is where the transformation actually happens. You can't rush through it. You can't skip over it. You have to sit in the discomfort. You have to embrace the uncertainty. You have to trust that on the other side of this breaking is a version of you that makes all the pain worth it. And it will be worth it. I promise you it will be worth it. When you look back on your life, you won't regret the times you broke. You'll regret the times you didn't. You'll regret the changes you were too scared to make. You'll regret the person you could have become if only you had the courage to destroy the person you were. Don't let that be you. Don't let fear keep you from your destiny. Don't let comfort rob you of your potential. Don't let safety steal your greatness. Break, change, transform, become. The world doesn't need another person playing it safe. The world doesn't need another person settling for good enough. The world doesn't need another person hiding their light because they're afraid to shine too bright. The world needs you broken open, raw, real, and radiating with the power of someone who refused to stay the same. So what are you waiting for? Permission? You won't get it. Certainty? You'll never have it. The perfect moment? It doesn't exist. All you have is right now. All you have is this moment. All you have is the choice between staying who you are or breaking into who you're meant to be. Choose to break. Choose to change. Choose to transform. Your old life is waiting to die. Your new life is waiting to begin. But both of those things require you to do the one thing you've been avoiding. You have to break, and the breaking has to start today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today, right now, this moment. Take the first step. Make the first break. Start the destruction that leads to construction. Begin the ending that creates a new beginning. Initiate the death that brings rebirth. And when it gets hard, when it hurts so bad you want to quit, when everything in you is screaming to go back to who you were, remember this: you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. You're not falling apart. You're falling together. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. The breaking is the making. The destruction is the construction. The death is the birth. And on the other side of all that pain, all that fear, all that uncertainty, is a version of you that's stronger, wiser, more powerful, more authentic, more alive than you ever thought possible. But you have to break first. You have to let go of who you were to make room for who you're becoming. You have to trust that the universe isn't punishing you with this pain. It's preparing you for your purpose. So break. Break with purpose. Break with intention. Break with the understanding that every piece of you that shatters is making space for something better to grow. Break knowing that you're not weak for falling apart. You're brave for having the courage to let it happen. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your chance to stop living the life you settled for and start building the life you deserve. But it requires one thing from you, one decision, one commitment, one choice that changes everything. You have to break. And you have to break now. Not because you're broken, but because you're ready to become unbreakable. Not because you're weak, but because you're ready to discover your strength. Not because you're lost, but because you're ready to find yourself. The old you has to die. The comfortable you has to disappear. The safe you has to cease to exist. And in that death, in that disappearance, in that ending, you will find your beginning. You will discover your power. You will become who you were always meant to be. So do it. Break. Change. Transform. Stop thinking about it and start living it. Stop wishing for it and start doing it. The world is waiting for the person you'll become when you finally have the courage to destroy the person you are. Break yourself open and let the light in. Break yourself apart and let the truth out. Break yourself free and let your potential loose. You are not meant to live small. You are not meant to play it safe. You are not meant to stay the same. You are meant to break. You are meant to change. You are meant to transform. And that journey starts the moment you decide you're done being who you were and ready to become who you are. Make that decision. Make it now. Make it final. And then watch as your entire life shifts, transforms, and becomes something you never imagined possible. To change, you must break. So break. Break beautifully. Break powerfully. Break completely. And rise from those broken pieces as something the world has never seen before. Your transformation is waiting, but it can't begin until you do the one thing you've been avoiding. You know what it is. You know what needs to break. You know what needs to change. You know what needs to die so something better can live. Stop avoiding it. Stop delaying it. Stop fearing it. Embrace it. Welcome it. Do it. Break. Change. Transform. Become. The time is now. The person is you. The choice is yours. Make it count. Listen to me. Every single person who ever achieved anything worth achieving had to break first. Every champion had to break their limits. Every entrepreneur had to break their fear of failure. Every artist had to break their self-doubt. Every leader had to break their need for approval. Nobody gets to greatness by staying comfortable. Nobody reaches their potential by playing it safe. Nobody transforms by protecting who they used to be. You look at successful people and you think they just got lucky. You think they were born different. You think they had advantages you don't have. But that's not the truth. The truth is they broke when you chose to bend. They shattered when you chose to crack. They destroyed their old life when you chose to repair yours. They went all in when you kept one foot out the door. That's the difference. That's what separates the people living their dreams from the people dreaming about living. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's the willingness to break everything that's holding you back and build something new from the wreckage. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about all the reasons why you can't break. You're thinking about your responsibilities. You're thinking about the people depending on you. You're thinking about the bills you have to pay and the obligations you have to meet. You're thinking about all the logical, practical, sensible reasons why now is not the time. But here's the truth. There will never be a good time. There will always be responsibilities. There will always be bills. There will always be obligations. There will always be reasons to stay exactly where you are. If you wait for the perfect moment to break, you'll wait forever. If you wait for all your ducks to be in a row, they never will be. If you wait for permission from the world to change, the world will tell you to stay the same. So stop waiting. Stop planning. Stop preparing. Just break. Break now. Break messy. Break imperfectly. Break with everything still uncertain and unclear. Break with fear in your heart and doubt in your mind. Break even though you don't know what comes next. Break because the alternative is spending the rest of your life wondering what could have been. You want to know the real tragedy? It's not the people who break and fail. It's the people who never break at all. It's the people who live their entire lives in the cage of their comfort zone. It's the people who die with their dreams still inside them, their potential still untapped, their purpose still undiscovered. Don't be that person. Don't let your tombstone be a list of could-haves and should-haves and would-haves. Don't let your eulogy be about what you almost did, what you almost became, what you almost achieved. Let your life be proof that you had the guts to break. Let your story be about transformation, not stagnation. Let your legacy be the person you became, not the person you stayed. Because here's what they don't tell you. You're going to die anyway. You're going to reach the end of this life whether you break or not, whether you change or not, whether you transform or not. The only question is what version of you will be lying on that deathbed. Will it be the version that played it safe? Or the version that bet everything on themselves? Will you die wondering what could have been? Or will you die knowing you gave everything you had? Will you die full of regret? Or will you die full of stories? Will you die as the person you were? Or as the person you became? That decision is being made right now. Not tomorrow, not someday. Right now, in this moment. You're either choosing to break or choosing to stay broken. You're either choosing to change or choosing to stagnate. You're either choosing growth or choosing comfort. And whatever you choose in this moment will determine who you become in the next. So choose wisely, choose courageously, choose yourself. And understand something, breaking doesn't mean you're going to lose everything. Breaking means you're going to lose the wrong things so you can gain the right things. You're going to lose the fake friends so you can find real ones. You're going to lose the dead-end job so you can find your purpose. You're going to lose the comfortable life so you can build a meaningful one. Everything you lose in the breaking was never meant to go with you anyway. It was baggage. It was dead weight. It was an anchor holding you at the bottom when you were meant to rise to the top. Let it go. Let it all go. Mourn it if you need to, but don't hold on to it. Don't let the fear of losing what you have stop you from gaining what you need. Because what's on the other side of breaking is worth more than everything you're holding on to. What's on the other side is freedom. What's on the other side is peace. What's on the other side is power. What's on the other side is the real you, the authentic you, the you that's been buried under layers of fear and doubt and other people's expectations. That version of you is worth fighting for. That version of you is worth suffering for. That version of you is worth breaking for. And until you're willing to destroy everything standing between you and that version, you'll never meet them. You'll never become them. You'll never be them. So make the choice. Make it now. Decide that today is the day you stop protecting your comfort and start pursuing your potential. Decide that today is the day you stop maintaining your cage and start building your wings. Decide that today is the day you stop surviving and start thriving. Break the routine that's killing your creativity. Break the relationship that's draining your energy. Break the belief that's limiting your possibilities. Break the habit that's stealing your health. Break the fear that's blocking your destiny. Break whatever needs to break so you can become whoever you need to become. And do it with conviction. Do it with certainty. Do it with the understanding that you're not destroying your life. You're saving it. You're not ruining your future. You're creating it. You're not making a mistake. You're making a move. Because movement is life. Stagnation is death. And right now, in this moment, you get to choose which one you want. You get to choose whether you're going to keep rotting in place or start growing toward the sun. You get to choose whether you're going to stay buried or break through the soil. And I'm telling you right now, break through, break free, break out, break up, break down, break whatever needs to break so you can build what needs to be built. Your time is limited, your life is finite, your opportunity is now. Don't waste another second protecting a version of yourself that's already dead. Don't waste another minute maintaining a life that's making you miserable. Don't waste another hour playing it safe when you were born to be extraordinary. Break. Today. Now. This moment. Not because it's easy, not because it's safe, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary, because it's time, because you're ready. And you are ready. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you're scared, even if you're uncertain, you're ready because you're still here. You're ready because you're still fighting. You're ready because somewhere deep inside, you know that staying the same is no longer an option. So trust that. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust that the breaking will lead to building. Trust that the destruction will lead to creation. Trust that the ending will lead to a beginning. And then do it. Break. Change. Transform. Become everything you were meant to be. The world is waiting. Your future is waiting. Your destiny is waiting. All that standing between you and them is your willingness to let go of who you were. You think you know what making it looks like. You've got this picture in your head. The money, the freedom, the respect. The moment when everyone who doubted you has to eat their words. You've been running toward that image for so long that you forgot to ask yourself the most important question. What happens the day after? Nobody talks about that day. The day after you win. The day after you get what you've been chasing. The day after the celebration ends and you wake up and realize you're still you. Same thoughts. Same fears. Same demons. The only difference is now you have something to lose. You're sitting here right now thinking about making it. You're imagining the moment. You're playing it in your head like a movie. But you're not thinking about what comes next. You're not thinking about whether you're actually ready. You're not thinking about the person you need to become to keep what you're trying to get. And that's the problem. Because here's the reality. You're going to make it. If you keep pushing, if you don't quit, it's going to happen. But making it isn't the challenge. Keeping it is the challenge. Staying there is the challenge. Not letting success destroy you is the challenge. And most people aren't ready for that fight. Look at the people who made it and lost it all. Look at the athletes who got the contract and blew it. Look at the artists who got famous and crashed. Look at the entrepreneurs who built empires and watched them crumble. Look at the people who achieved everything they wanted and still ended up miserable. What happened? They weren't prepared for success. They were only prepared for the struggle. The struggle makes sense to you. Pain is familiar. Grinding is comfortable. You know how to be the underdog. You know how to fight when your back is against the wall. You know how to hustle when you have nothing to lose. But what about when you have everything? What about when comfort shows up and tells you it's okay to slow down? What about when success whispers that you've earned the right to relax? That's when you find out who you really are, not when you're hungry and desperate, but when you're full and comfortable, not when you're climbing, but when you're at the top trying to figure out how to stay there. Not when failure is chasing you, but when success is testing you to see if you deserve to keep it. You need to understand something right now. Success doesn't care about your story. It doesn't care how hard you work to get there. It doesn't care about your struggle or your sacrifice or your journey. Success only cares about one thing. Can you handle it? And if you can't, it will destroy you faster than failure ever could. Failure is loud. Failure is obvious. You know when you're losing. But success is quiet. It destroys you slowly. It makes you soft without you noticing. It makes you lazy without you realizing. It makes you entitled without you seeing it. And by the time you wake up, it's too late. You've already lost everything you worked for and you don't even know how it happened. So let me ask you something. What are you doing right now to prepare for success? Not to achieve it, to handle it. What are you doing to build the character that can carry the weight of your dreams? What are you doing to develop the discipline that doesn't need motivation? What are you doing to create the mindset that can handle pressure without breaking? Most of you aren't doing anything. You're just working hard and hoping it works out. You're grinding and praying. You're hustling and wishing. But you're not preparing. You're not building the foundation. You're not developing the internal strength. You're not becoming someone different. You're just trying to get there without thinking about what happens when you arrive. And that's why you're going to struggle when it finally happens. That's why you're going to panic when opportunity shows up. That's why you're going to make mistakes you can't take back. That's why you're going to lose things you can't get back. Because you weren't ready. You wanted the results without doing the internal work. You wanted the destination without the transformation. Listen to me. Making it is not about luck. It's not about timing. It's not about who you know or what opportunities come your way. Making it is about becoming someone who can handle what you're asking for. It's about building yourself into a person whose success naturally flows to. It's about developing the capacity to carry more weight than you're carrying right now. You can't handle success with a broke mindset. You can't maintain wealth with poor habits. You can't sustain winning with a losing mentality. You can't keep what you're not ready for. And right now, most of you aren't ready. You're chasing things you don't have the character to maintain. You're reaching for levels you don't have the discipline to sustain. You're aiming for goals you don't have the strength to protect. And I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying this to wake you up, because the worst thing that can happen to you is getting what you want before you're ready for it. The worst thing is achieving your dreams with the wrong character. The worst thing is making it to the top and realizing you don't know how to stay there. So what do? You start building yourself right now. You start becoming the person who can handle success before success arrives. You start developing the habits of someone who's already there. You start thinking like someone who's already won, not because you're faking it, but because you're preparing for it. You want to make it? Then stop living like you're still figuring it out. Stop making excuses like someone who's stuck. Stop thinking small like someone who's scared. Stop acting broke when you're trying to be rich. Stop being inconsistent when you need to be reliable. Stop being emotional when you need to be strategic. Stop being comfortable when you need to be growing. The person you are right now is not the person who makes it. You have to become someone else. You have to evolve. You have to upgrade every single part of yourself. Your thinking, your habits, your standards, your circle, your discipline, your focus, your character. Everything has to change. Because where you're trying to go requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And that's the work. That's the real grind. Not just working toward the goal, but working on yourself so you can handle the goal when it arrives. Not just chasing success, but building yourself into someone who success can trust. Not just trying to get there, but becoming someone who belongs there. Think about it like this. You're building a house, but you're not building the foundation. You're stacking bricks, but you're skipping the base. And you think it's going to stand? You think it's going to last? You think when the storm comes, it's not going to collapse? That's what you're doing right now. You're building success without building the foundation to support it. And when pressure comes, when challenges arrive, when things get heavy, everything is going to fall apart. You need a foundation. You need roots. You need something deeper than ambition. You need character. You need discipline that doesn't quit when motivation runs out. You need values that don't change when money shows up. You need principles that don't bend when pressure applies. You need integrity that stays solid when nobody's watching. Because when you make it, nobody's going to be watching you as closely as you think. The cameras aren't always on. The audience isn't always paying attention. Most of your life is going to be lived in private, and who you are in those private moments is who you really are. That's the person who determines whether you keep what you built or lose it all. You can fake it in public. You can perform for people. You can put on a show and make everyone think you're solid, but you can't fake it in private. You can't lie to yourself. You know who you really are when nobody's looking. You know whether you're really about what you say you're about. You know whether you're actually disciplined or just disciplined when it's convenient. You know whether you're truly committed or just committed when it feels good. And that's what's going to determine everything. Not what you show people, but what you are when nobody's watching. Not your highlight reel, but your daily routine. Not your best day, but your average day. Not what you do when you're motivated, but what you do when you're tired and nobody would know if you quit. So here's what you need to do. You need to stop waiting for success to change you and start changing yourself so you're ready for success. You need to stop hoping things will be different when you make it and start being different right now so you can make it. You need to stop thinking the goal is going to fix you and start fixing yourself so you can reach the goal. Because nothing external is going to complete you. No amount of money is going to heal your insecurities. No level of success is going to fix your broken relationships. No achievement is going to fill the void inside you. No recognition is going to make you feel worthy if you don't already feel worthy. Success amplifies who you are. If you're broken now, success will make you more broken. If you're insecure now, success will make you more insecure. If you're lost now, success will make you more lost. But if you're solid now, success will make you stronger. If you're disciplined now, success will make you unstoppable. If you're clear now, success will make you focused. So who are you right now? Are you someone who can handle what you're chasing? Are you someone who deserves what you're asking for? Are you someone who's ready for the pressure that comes with winning? Because if you're not, you need to become that person. And you need to become that person now, not later, not when you get there. Now. You think you have time, but you don't. Opportunity doesn't wait for you to be ready. Success doesn't knock twice. The moment comes when it comes, and if you're not prepared, it passes you by. And you can sit there and blame timing or luck or circumstances, but the truth is you weren't ready. You wanted it, but you weren't willing to become what it required. Stop wanting things you're not willing to work for. Stop chasing levels you're not willing to sacrifice for. Stop dreaming about success you're not willing to prepare for. Because wanting it is not enough. Working hard is not enough. Being talented is not enough. You have to become someone capable of sustaining what you're trying to achieve. And that takes time. That takes work. That takes brutal honesty with yourself. You have to look at yourself and admit where you're weak. You have to acknowledge where you're undisciplined. You have to recognize where you're still making excuses. You have to call yourself out on the habits that are holding you back. You have to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Most people can't do that. Most people would rather lie to themselves than face the truth. They'd rather stay comfortable in their excuses than get uncomfortable in their growth. They'd rather blame external factors than take responsibility for internal ones. They'd rather play victim than become victor. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't still be here. If you were, you would have quit already. If you were, you'd be making excuses instead of looking for answers. So don't act like most people. Don't think like most people. Don't settle like most people. You're going to make it. But the question is, what version of you is going to be standing there when it happens? Is it going to be someone who's ready? Someone who's prepared? Someone who built themselves into a person worthy of everything they're receiving? Or is it going to be someone who got lucky and doesn't know what to do with it? That's up to you. That's decided right now, not when you get there. Right now, in this moment, with the choices you make today, with the person you decide to become today, with the standards you set for yourself today. with the discipline you commit to today. So decide. Decide right now that you're going to be ready. Decide that you're going to do the internal work. Decide that you're going to become someone who doesn't just make it but keeps it. Decide that success isn't going to destroy you because you built the foundation to handle it. Decide that when your moment comes, you're not going to waste it. Because your moment is coming. It's closer than you think. And when it arrives, there's no time to prepare. You either are ready or you're not. You either can handle it or you can't. You either rise to it or you crumble under it. What's it going to be? Let me tell you what happens to people who make it without being ready. They panic. They self-sabotage. They make stupid decisions because they don't trust themselves. They spend money they shouldn't spend. They trust people they shouldn't trust. They celebrate too early and stop doing the things that got them there. They think they've arrived when they've only just started. I've seen it happen over and over. People work for years to get somewhere, and then they get there, and they don't know what to do. They freeze. They second-guess everything. They become paralyzed by the fear of losing what they just gained. And that fear makes them weak. That fear makes them conservative. That fear makes them play small when they should be playing bigger. Because here's what they don't understand. Making it once doesn't mean anything if you can't do it again. Getting there doesn't prove anything if you can't stay there. Winning once doesn't make you a winner. Consistency makes you a winner. Sustainability makes you a winner. The ability to perform under pressure repeatedly makes you a winner. One-hit wonders are everywhere. People who had one good year and then disappeared. People who caught lightning in a bottle and couldn't capture it again. People who got lucky and mistook luck for skill. And when the luck ran out, they had nothing left. No foundation, no discipline, no character, just a story about how they almost made it. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person who had potential but wasted it. The person who got an opportunity but blew it. The person who was talented but undisciplined. The person who could have been great but settled for good enough. So what separates the people who make it and keep it from the people who make it and lose it? It's simple. The people who keep it are the people who never stop being hungry. They never stop improving. They never stop learning. They never stop pushing. They reach the goal and immediately set a bigger one. They achieve the dream and immediately start dreaming bigger. They get to the top and instead of relaxing, they start building a taller mountain. The people who lose it are the people who think the journey is over when they reach the destination. They think they can finally rest. They think they've earned the right to coast. They think the hard part is behind them, and that's when they start slipping. That's when they start losing their edge. That's when someone hungrier passes them. You have to understand that success is not a place you get to. It's a direction you move in. It's not a finish line you cross. It's a path you stay on. The moment you stop moving forward, you start moving backward. There is no standing still. You're either getting better or getting worse. You're either growing or dying. You're either climbing or falling. And the people at the top know this. The people who stay successful know this. They know that the price of success is constant vigilance. They know that maintaining excellence is harder than achieving it. They know that staying sharp requires the same intensity as getting sharp in the first place. Look at the people who've been at the top for decades. Look at the ones who keep winning year after year. Look at the ones who keep producing at high levels when everyone else their age has retired. What do they have that others don't? Is it talent? No. Talent is common. Is it opportunity? No. Everyone gets opportunities. What they have is commitment. What they have is discipline. What they have is a refusal to let success make them soft. They treat every day like they're still trying to make it. They train like they have something to prove. They work like they're broke. They focus like they're hungry. They don't care that they've already won. They care about winning again, and again, and again. Because winning once was never the goal. Sustained excellence is the goal. Building a legacy is the goal. Becoming undeniable is the goal. That's what you need to be thinking about. Not just making it, but staying relevant after you make it. Not just reaching the top, but building something that lasts when you're gone, not just achieving success, but becoming the standard that others measure themselves against. And that requires a different level of commitment. That requires a different level of sacrifice. That requires a different level of discipline. That requires becoming someone who doesn't need external pressure to perform. Someone who doesn't need circumstances to force them to be great. Someone who brings intensity to everything they do, regardless of how they feel or what's at stake. Most people need to be pushed. They need deadlines. They need pressure. They need consequences. They need someone watching them to perform. But elite people push themselves. They create their own pressure. They set their own standards. They hold themselves accountable when nobody else is paying attention. That's the difference. That's what you need to become. Someone who doesn't wait for life to demand excellence from you. Someone who demands it from yourself. Someone who doesn't need motivation to show up. Someone who shows up because that's who you are. And that identity doesn't get built overnight. That identity gets built through thousands of small decisions. The decision to get up when you don't want to. The decision to push through when you're tired. The decision to stay disciplined when nobody would know if you quit. The decision to do the right thing when the wrong thing is easier. The decision to stay focused when distractions are everywhere. Every single one of those decisions is building you. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're becoming stronger. Every time you choose growth over ease, you're becoming better. Every time you choose excellence over average, you're becoming someone different, someone capable, someone worthy, someone ready. That's what preparation looks like. It's not one big moment. It's a million tiny moments where you chose to be better than you had to be, where you chose to do more than was required, where you chose to give more than was expected. And those moments compound. They build on each other. They create momentum. They transform you from someone who wants success into someone who embodies it. So when success finally comes, it's not a surprise. It's not luck. It's not random. It's the inevitable result of who you became. It's the natural outcome of the person you built yourself into. It's the reward for all those private battles you won when nobody was watching. And when you make it like that, you don't panic. You don't freeze. You don't wonder if you deserve it. You know you deserve it because you became someone worthy of it. You know you can handle it because you built the capacity to carry it. You know you can keep it because you have the discipline to protect it. That's confidence. Not the fake confidence that comes from pretending, but the real confidence that comes from preparation. The confidence that comes from knowing you did the work. The confidence that comes from looking at yourself in the mirror and respecting what you see. The confidence that comes from becoming someone you're proud to be. Most people don't have that. Most people are trying to convince themselves they're ready when deep down they know they're not. They're trying to fake confidence when they feel insecure. They're trying to act successful when they feel like imposters. And that's exhausting. That's draining. That's unsustainable. But when you do the real work, you don't have to fake anything. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to prove anything. You just show up as who you are, and that's enough. You walk into rooms differently. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You think differently. Because you're not pretending to be something you're not. You became something you are. That's power. That's presence. That's the energy that makes people want to follow you. That's the energy that makes opportunities come to you. That's the energy that makes success feel natural instead of forced. And here's the beautiful part. When you build yourself like that, success doesn't change you. It reveals you. It amplifies the person you already became. It gives you a bigger platform to be who you already are. It gives you more resources to do what you were already doing. It gives you more influence to impact people the way you were already impacting them. You don't become someone new. You become more of who you already are. And if you built yourself right, that's a good thing. If you did the internal work, success makes you better. If you developed the character, success makes you stronger. If you created the foundation, success builds on top of it instead of cracking it. But if you didn't do the work, success exposes you. It reveals the cracks, it shows the weaknesses, it proves you weren't ready, and then you have a choice. You can either run from it and lose everything, or you can face it and start building what you should have built from the beginning. Some people get that second chance. Some people lose it all and get to rebuild with the wisdom they didn't have the first time. But not everyone gets that chance. Some people only get one shot, one opportunity, one moment, and if they're not ready, it's gone forever. So don't gamble with your future. Don't hope you'll figure it out when you get there. Don't assume it'll all work out. Assume nothing. Prepare for everything. Build yourself into someone who's ready for any level of success. Build yourself into someone who can handle any level of pressure. Build yourself into someone who can navigate any level of complexity. Because the higher you go, the more complex it gets. The bigger you get, the harder the decisions become. The more you achieve, the more people depend on you. And if you're not built for that, it will crush you. The weight will be too much. The pressure will be too high. The stakes will be too big. But if you build yourself right, you'll carry it. You'll handle it. You'll thrive in it. You'll look at challenges that break other people and see opportunities. You'll face pressure that destroys others and get stronger. You'll encounter situations that would make most people quit, and you'll push through. That's what making it really means. Not getting to a place where life gets easier, but becoming someone capable of handling harder things. Not reaching a point where you can finally relax, but reaching a point where you're strong enough to carry more weight. Not arriving at a destination where the journey ends, but arriving at a level where you're ready for a bigger journey. So stop thinking about making it as the end. Start thinking about it as the beginning of what you're truly capable of, the beginning of your real impact, the beginning of your actual legacy, the beginning of the version of you that changes everything. That version is coming. It's inevitable if you keep building, but it's only powerful if you prepare for it. It's only sustainable if you develop the capacity for it. It's only meaningful if you become worthy of it. So become worthy, become capable, become ready, not someday, today, right now, with this decision, with this commitment, with this choice to stop playing small and start building big. Because you're going to make it. The only question is whether you'll be ready when you do. You wake up, same alarm, same room, same thoughts running through your head about what you need to do. And somewhere in that moment between sleep and being fully awake, there's a question that sits there waiting for you. Are you going to show up today? Are you really going to do the work? Or are you going to find another reason why tomorrow makes more sense? Consistency isn't sexy. Nobody's making highlight reels about the Tuesday morning when you did the thing you said you'd do even though you didn't feel like it. Nobody's celebrating the fact that you showed up on a random Thursday in February when it was cold and dark and every part of you wanted to stay in bed. That's the part nobody talks about. The part where nothing special happens. The part where you're just doing what you committed to doing because you said you would. But that's where everything lives. That's where the real work happens. Not in the big moments. Not when you're feeling inspired or motivated or like you're on top of the world. It happens in the silence, in the repetition, in the decision to keep moving when there's no applause, no recognition, no immediate reward for what you're doing. Most people think consistency means doing something perfectly every single day without fail. They think it's this rigid, mechanical thing where you never miss and you never struggle and you just execute like some kind of machine. And then when they miss a day or have a bad session or fall short of their own expectations, they think they've broken the streak. They think consistency is over. They give themselves permission to stop because they weren't perfect. That's not what consistency is. Consistency is coming back. It's showing up again after you missed. It's doing the work even when it's messy. It's about the pattern over time, not the perfection in each moment. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you show up and it feels like you're moving through mud. Days where the work doesn't click. Days where you question why you're even doing this in the first place. That's normal. That's part of it. Consistency doesn't mean those days don't exist. It means you keep going anyway. Think about water. Water doesn't break through rock because it hits it once with massive force. Water breaks through rock because it keeps showing up, drip after drip after drip. Each drop on its own does almost nothing. You could watch one drop hit that rock and think it's pointless. What's one drop going to do? But water doesn't care about what one drop does. Water just keeps coming, and over time, that rock that seemed solid and immovable starts to change. It starts to crack. It starts to break down. Not because of one powerful moment, but because of 1,000 small moments that never stopped. That's what you're building. You're not trying to have one perfect day that changes everything. You're building 1,000 small days that add up to something nobody can ignore. You're creating a pattern, a rhythm, a way of being that doesn't need motivation to keep going because it's just what you do now. People talk about motivation like it's the thing that makes consistency possible, like you need to feel motivated to show up. And sure, motivation helps. When you're fired up and excited about what you're doing, it's easier to get started. But motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. You're not going to feel motivated every day. Some days you're going to feel tired. Some days you're going to feel doubtful. Some days you're going to feel like you're not making any progress at all. If you wait for motivation to show up before you do the work, you're going to spend most of your time waiting. Consistency doesn't run on motivation. It runs on commitment. It runs on the decision you made when you actually were motivated. When you had that moment of clarity where you knew what you needed to do and why it mattered. That's when you make the decision. And then every day after that, you honor that decision. Not because you feel like it, not because it's fun, not because you can see the results yet. You honor it because you decided this is who you're becoming. There's a version of you that exists in the future, a version that has everything you're working toward right now. That version didn't get there because of one big breakthrough. That version got there because of all the days you're living right now, all the small decisions, all the times you chose to keep going when it would have been easier to stop. That future version of you is built on the foundation of what you're doing today. And if you don't show up today, that foundation has a crack in it. You don't get to skip the process. You don't get to jump to the end. Everyone wants the results without the repetition. They want the transformation without the work. They want to be the person who's already made it without being the person who shows up when it's hard. But that's not how it works. You have to earn it, day by day, rep by rep, decision by decision. The thing about consistency is that it's boring until it's not. For a long time, you're just doing the work and nothing seems to be changing. You're putting in the effort and you can't see the progress. You're showing up and it feels like you're in the same place you were last week, last month, maybe even last year. And that's when most people quit. They look around and they don't see the evidence that it's working, so they assume it's not. They assume they're wasting their time. They assume they're doing something wrong. But here's what's actually happening. You're building. Underneath the surface, where you can't see it yet, things are changing. Your brain is adapting. Your body is adjusting. Your habits are solidifying. Your capacity is expanding. None of that shows up in a way that's immediately visible, but it's happening. Every single time you show up, you're laying another brick, and you don't see the wall until you've laid enough bricks. But that doesn't mean the bricks you're laying right now don't matter. They matter more than anything because without them, there's no wall. You've got to trust the process when you can't see the progress. That's the test. Anyone can keep going when they're seeing results. When the numbers are going up and people are noticing and you feel like you're on the right track, that's easy. The hard part is keeping going when none of that is true. When you're in the valley, when you're in the grind, when it's just you and the work and no external validation telling you it's worth it, that's when you find out who you really are. That's when you find out if you meant what you said. Because it's easy to say you're committed when things are going well. It's easy to talk about how bad you want it when you're feeling good. But what about when you're not feeling good? What about when you're tired and sore and frustrated and it feels like nothing's working? That's when commitment gets tested. That's when consistency becomes a choice instead of a feeling. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You're not special. Your struggles aren't unique. The resistance you feel, the doubt you experience, the voice in your head telling you to quit, that's not something happening to you specifically. That's the human experience. Everyone feels that. The difference between the people who make it and the people who don't isn't that some people don't feel resistance. It's that some people keep moving in spite of it. You think the people who've accomplished what you want to accomplish didn't have days where they didn't want to do it? You think they were just walking around feeling inspired and motivated all the time? No. They had the same doubts, the same fears, the same voice telling them it wasn't worth it. They just didn't listen to it. They didn't let that voice make the decision. They made the decision based on who they were trying to become, not based on how they felt in the moment. That's the shift. You stop letting your feelings run the show. You stop waiting to feel ready or motivated or confident. You start showing up because that's what you do. That's who you are. You're the person who keeps their word to themselves. You're the person who does what they said they'd do. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, because it matters. And here's what happens when you do that. Over time, you start to build trust with yourself. You start to prove to yourself that you're capable of doing hard things, that you're capable of following through, that you're not just someone who talks about what they're going to do, you're someone who actually does it. And that internal shift changes everything. Because when you trust yourself, you stop questioning whether you can do it. You already know you can because you've done it before. Maybe not this specific thing, but you've shown up when it was hard. You've pushed through when you didn't want to. You've kept going when it didn't make sense. So you know you can do it again. Consistency builds confidence. Not the loud, flashy kind of confidence that comes from one big win. The quiet, unshakable kind that comes from knowing you don't quit. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it's so deeply rooted in who you are that it just shows up in how you move through the world. People are going to doubt you. They're going to question why you're doing what you're doing. They're going to tell you it's not worth it, or that you're wasting your time, or that you should try something else. And some of those people are going to be close to you. Some of those people are going to be people you care about. That's going to make it harder, because part of you is going to want their approval. Part of you is going to want them to understand. But you can't wait for other people to believe in what you're building. You have to believe in it enough for all of them. Consistency in the face of doubt is its own kind of strength. It's saying, I see that you don't believe in this, and I'm doing it anyway. It's choosing your vision over their opinion. It's trusting your path even when the people around you can't see where it's going. That's lonely sometimes. That's isolating. But that's also where you separate yourself from everyone who needs permission to keep going. You don't need permission. You don't need someone to co-sign your dream. You don't need validation from people who aren't willing to do what you're doing. You need to show up. That's it. You need to do the work and let the work speak for itself. Because eventually, if you stay consistent long enough, the results will show up. And when they do, the same people who doubted you are going to act like they knew all along. Let them. It doesn't matter. You're not doing this for them. You're doing this because you know there's a gap between who you are right now and who you're capable of becoming. And you're not okay with leaving that gap unfilled. You're not okay with living a smaller version of your life because it's easier or more comfortable, or because it's what everyone else is doing. You want more. Not because you're greedy or because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you know you have something in you that needs to come out. And the only way to get it out is to keep working. Let's talk about what happens when you stop, because you've been there before. You've started something with good intentions. You were excited. You had a plan. You could see where it was going. And then life happened. Things got busy. You got tired. You missed a day. Then you missed another day. And before you knew it, you weren't doing it anymore. It just faded out. And you told yourself it was fine. You told yourself you'd get back to it, but you didn't. And now it's just another thing on the list of things you started but didn't finish. That feeling, that's the cost of inconsistency. It's not just that you didn't accomplish the goal, it's that you reinforced a pattern. You taught yourself that when things get hard, you stop. You taught yourself that your word to yourself doesn't really mean anything. And every time you do that, it gets a little bit easier to quit the next time. You start to build an identity around being someone who doesn't follow through, and that identity becomes a weight you carry into everything else you try to do. But it works the other way too. Every time you show up when you don't want to, you're building a different pattern. You're teaching yourself that you're someone who keeps going. You're proving to yourself that discomfort doesn't stop you, that resistance doesn't control you, that you're capable of more than you think. And every time you do that, it gets a little bit easier to do it again. Not because the work gets easier, but because you get stronger. You're either building the pattern of quitting or you're building the pattern of persisting. There's no neutral. Every day you make a choice, and that choice is building one pattern or the other. So which one are you building? Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to do this for you. You can have all the support in the world, all the encouragement, all the resources, but at the end of the day, it's just you and the work. It's you deciding whether to show up or not. It's you deciding whether to push through or give in. It's you deciding what kind of person you're going to be. And here's the thing, you already know what you need to do. You're not confused. You're not lacking information. You know what habits you need to build. You know what changes you need to make. You know what you need to start doing and what you need to stop doing. The information is there. The plan is there. What's missing is the execution. What's missing is the willingness to do it even when it's uncomfortable. Because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. There are going to be days where you feel like you're not cut out for this. Days where you question everything. Days where you want to quit so badly you can taste it. And on those days, you have to remember why you started. You have to reconnect with the vision. You have to remind yourself that this temporary discomfort is the price of permanent change. Nothing worth having comes easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, it wouldn't mean anything. The fact that it's hard is what makes it valuable. The fact that most people won't do it is what makes it worth doing. You're not trying to be like most people. You're trying to be in the small percentage of people who actually follow through, who actually become who they say they want to be. Consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being relentless. It's about getting knocked down and getting back up. It's about missing a day and showing up the next day anyway. It's about having a bad week and not letting that bad week turn into a bad month. It's about course correcting without quitting. It's about adjusting without abandoning the mission. You're going to mess up. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to fall short sometimes. That's part of the process. The question is, what you do after that happens. Do you use it as an excuse to stop? Or do you use it as information to adjust? Do you let one bad day define you? Or do you prove that one bad day doesn't change your direction? The people who win aren't the people who never fail. They're the people who fail and keep going. They're the people who get up one more time than they get knocked down. They're the people who refuse to let a temporary setback become a permanent excuse. You've got to outlast the doubt. You've got to outlast the resistance. You've got to outlast the voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, or that it's not working, or that you should try something else. That voice is always going to be there. It's part of being human, but you don't have to listen to it. You can acknowledge it and do the work anyway. You can hear the doubt and choose belief. You can feel the fear and choose courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing it scared. Courage is showing up even when you don't feel ready. Courage is taking the next step even when you can't see the whole path. That's what separates the people who talk about their dreams from the people who live them. The people who live them aren't braver or more talented or more capable. They're just more consistent. They keep showing up. They keep doing the work. They keep moving forward even when forward feels impossible. Time is going to pass whether you do the work or not. A year from now, you're going to be a year older. The question is, what are you going to have to show for it? Are you going to look back and wish you had started? Are you going to regret all the days you let slip by without taking action? Or are you going to look back and be proud of the fact that you showed up? That you did the work? That you stayed consistent even when it was hard? You get to decide that right now. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down or when you feel more ready or when the conditions are perfect. Right now, you get to decide that you're done waiting. You're done making excuses. You're done letting fear or doubt or resistance keep you from becoming who you're supposed to be. The work is waiting for you. It's been waiting for you. It's going to keep waiting until you decide to do something about it. But here's the thing, the longer you wait, the further away you get from the person you're trying to become. Every day you delay is a day you're not building. Every day you put it off is a day you're not growing, and all those days add up, they compound. Just like consistent action compounds in your favor, consistent inaction compounds against you. You can't get back the time you've already lost. You can't go back and make different choices, but you can start right now. You can make today, day one. You can make today the day you stop waiting and start working. You can make today the day you commit to showing up no matter what. Consistency beats everything. It beats talent. It beats motivation. It beats luck. Because consistency is what turns potential into reality. It's what turns dreams into plans and plans into results. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And the only way to cross that bridge is one step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. You're not going to feel like doing it most days. That's fine. Do it anyway. You're not going to see progress right away. That's fine. Keep going anyway. You're going to doubt yourself sometimes. That's fine. Show up anyway, because the consistency itself is the progress. The showing up is the win. The fact that you're still here, still trying, still working, that's what matters. Most people quit right before things start to change. They put in all this work and don't see the results they want, so they assume it's not working. They assume they're doing something wrong. They assume it's time to try something else. But what they don't realize is that they were right on the edge. They were so close to the breakthrough, but they quit before they got there. Don't be that person. Don't be the person who gives up right before it gets good. You're closer than you think. The work you're doing right now matters more than you realize. The days that feel pointless aren't pointless. They're building something. They're preparing you for what's coming. They're making you into the person who can handle the next level. Trust that. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Keep working. Not because someone's watching. Not because someone's going to praise you. Not because it's going to be easy or fun or immediately rewarding. Keep working because you said you would. Keep working because you're becoming someone who keeps their word. Keep working because you're building a life you're proud of. Keep working because consistency beats everything, and you're proving that every single day. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to show yourself what you're made of. Don't waste it. Don't let fear or doubt or comfort keep you from doing what you know you need to do. Get up, show up, do the work, and then do it again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, because that's how you win. That's how you build a life that matters. That's how you become the person you've always known you could be. Let's dig deeper into what consistency actually looks like when nobody's watching, when the cameras are off, when there's no audience, when it's just you in your room at 5 in the morning and you could easily go back to sleep. That's the moment. That's where consistency is born. Not in public, not when you're accountable to other people, but in private. In those moments where nobody would know if you didn't do it except you. That's where your character gets built. That's where you prove to yourself who you really are. Because anyone can do the work when people are watching. Anyone can show up when there's pressure. Anyone can perform when there's something on the line. But can you do it when there's nothing on the line except your word to yourself? Can you do it when the only person who would know you quit is you? That's the real test. That's where most people fail. Not because they can't do the work, but because they don't hold themselves accountable when no one else is holding them accountable. They let themselves off the hook. They tell themselves it's okay to skip today. They tell themselves they'll make up for it tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and the same thing happens. And then it becomes a pattern, and that pattern becomes who they are. You have to be your own accountability. You have to be the person who doesn't let yourself slide. You have to be harder on yourself than anyone else would be on you. Not in a way that's destructive or self-critical, but in a way that holds you to the standard you set for yourself. In a way that says, I don't care how I feel right now. I don't care that it's hard. I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to do it. That's integrity. That's what it means to have integrity with yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's about being true to your word, even when it costs you something, even when it's uncomfortable, even when there's no external reward. You do it because you said you would. Period. And here's what most people don't understand about consistency. It's not just about the action itself. It's about what the action represents. When you show up and do the work even when you don't want to, you're not just completing a task. You're sending a message to yourself. You're telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who follows through. I'm the kind of person who doesn't quit. I'm the kind of person who does hard things. And every time you send that message, you're reinforcing that identity. You're becoming that person more and more. But it works the other way too. Every time you don't show up, every time you make an excuse, every time you let yourself off the hook, you're sending a different message. You're telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who quits when things get hard. I'm the kind of person who doesn't really mean what they say. I'm the kind of person who gives up. And that becomes your identity too. You're writing your own story every single day. Every action is a sentence. Every decision is a paragraph. Every week is a chapter. And at the end of your life, you're going to have a book. The question is, what's that book going to say? Is it going to be a story of someone who kept going no matter what? Or is it going to be a story of someone who had potential but never did anything with it? You decide, right now, today, with the choice you're about to make. Are you going to do the work, or are you going to make an excuse? Are you going to show up, or are you going to let yourself slide? Are you going to honor your commitment, or are you going to break it? And look, I know it's hard. I know you're tired. I know you've got other things going on. I know life is complicated and messy, and sometimes it feels like you're barely keeping your head above water. I get it. Everyone's fighting battles nobody knows about. Everyone's dealing with stuff. But here's the thing, your circumstances don't determine your outcome. Your response to your circumstances determines your outcome. You can have everything going against you and still win if you refuse to quit. You can have every advantage in the world and still lose if you don't put in the work. It's not about what you have. It's about what you do with what you have. It's about how you show up regardless of what's happening around you. Some of the most successful people in the world came from nothing. They had every reason to quit, every excuse to give up, every justification to say, it's too hard, or it's not fair, or I can't do this. But they didn't. They kept going. They kept working. They kept showing up. And eventually, their consistency paid off. Not because they were special, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to stop. That's what separates the winners from everyone else. The winners don't have different circumstances. They don't have easier lives. They just have a different response to difficulty. When things get hard, they lean in. When things get uncomfortable, they push through. When things get painful, they keep moving. They don't run from the struggle, they run toward it. Because they know that's where the growth is. You want to know the secret to success? There is no secret. It's just work. Consistent, relentless, unglamorous work. It's showing up every day and doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. It's pushing through the resistance. It's ignoring the voice that tells you to quit. It's choosing the hard path over and over again until the hard path becomes your normal path. That's how you build a life. That's how you build a career. That's how you build a body. That's how you build anything worth having. You commit to the process and you trust that the process works. You commit to showing up and you trust that showing up compounds. You commit to doing the work and you trust that the work will pay off even if you can't see it yet. Because here's the thing about consistency, it's exponential, not linear. When you first start, you don't see much progress. You're putting in all this effort and it feels like nothing's changing. It feels like you're spinning your wheels. It feels like you're wasting your time. But you're not. You're building momentum. You're creating a foundation. You're establishing patterns. And all of that is invisible until it's not. Then one day, things start to shift. The work starts to feel easier. The progress starts to become visible. The results start to show up. And it's not because you're doing anything different. It's because all those days you showed up when you didn't want to are finally compounding. All those times you pushed through when it was hard are finally paying off. All that consistency is finally turning into results. But you only get there if you stick with it long enough. You only get there if you don't quit before the compound effect kicks in. You only get there if you trust the process even when you can't see the progress. Most people quit in that early phase. They quit when it's hardest. They quit when they can't see the results yet. They quit right before things start to change. And then they wonder why nothing ever works out for them. They wonder why they never achieve their goals. They wonder why other people seem to have it figured out and they don't. But the truth is, those other people don't have it figured out either. They're just still going. They're just still showing up. They're just still working. They haven't quit yet. That's the difference. It's not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not connections. It's endurance. It's the willingness to keep going when everyone else stops. Think about a marathon. The people who win marathons aren't necessarily the fastest runners. They're the people who can maintain their pace for 26 miles. They're the people who don't burn out in the first few miles. They're the people who understand that it's not about speed, it's about sustainability. It's about finding a rhythm you can maintain and then maintaining it no matter what. That's what consistency is. It's finding your pace and sticking to it. It's not about doing the most. It's not about being the best. It's about being reliable. It's about being someone who shows up, someone who does the work, someone who doesn't need external motivation because they've internalized the commitment. You become that person by practicing, by showing up when you don't want to, by doing the work when it's hard, by pushing through when every part of you wants to stop. That's how you build the mental muscle. That's how you develop the discipline. That's how you become the kind of person who doesn't quit. And here's something most people don't talk about. Consistency isn't just about achieving goals. It's about becoming someone you respect. It's about being able to look yourself in the mirror and know you're living with integrity. It's about going to bed at night knowing you did what you said you'd do. That internal peace, that self-respect, that quiet confidence that's worth more than any external achievement, because external achievements can be taken away. You can lose the money, you can lose the status, you can lose the recognition, but nobody can take away who you've become. Nobody can take away the person you've built yourself into. Nobody can take away the fact that you're someone who keeps their word. That's yours. That belongs to you. And that's what consistency really builds. It builds you. It builds your character. It builds your confidence. It builds your capacity to handle more. It builds your ability to push through difficulty. It builds everything that matters. The goal is almost secondary. The goal is just the excuse to become the person who's capable of achieving it. So when you're in the middle of the grind and you can't see the point, remember that. You're not just working toward a goal. You're working toward becoming someone who's capable of achieving that goal. You're developing the skills. You're building the mindset. You're creating the habits. You're becoming the person who can handle what you're asking for. And maybe that's why it takes so long. Maybe that's why the process is so hard, because you're not ready for what you want yet. You need to grow into it. You need to become the person who can handle it. And that takes time. That takes work. That takes consistency. You can't rush it. You can't skip steps. You can't take shortcuts. You have to go through the process. You have to put in the time. You have to do the work. There's no way around it. The only way is through. And I know that's frustrating. I know you want results now. I know you want to see progress faster. I know you're tired of waiting. But this is the deal. This is how it works. You have to earn it. You have to prove you're serious. You have to demonstrate that you're not going to quit when it gets hard. Because life is going to test you. It's going to throw obstacles in your way. It's going to make it hard. It's going to give you every reason to stop. And if you quit now, you're going to quit then too. But if you keep going now, if you push through now, if you prove to yourself now that you don't quit then, when life tests you later, you'll have the evidence that you can handle it. You'll have the track record. You'll have the confidence that comes from knowing you've done hard things before and you can do them again. That's what consistency gives you. It gives you proof. Proof that you're capable. Proof that you're resilient. Proof that you're stronger than you think. And that proof becomes the foundation for everything else you build. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking for hacks. Stop looking for the easy way. There is no easy way. There's just the way. And the way is showing up every day and doing the work. The way is being consistent. The way is refusing to quit no matter what. That's it. That's the whole game. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just distraction. Everything else is just excuses. The only thing that matters is whether you show up and do the work. That's the only variable you control. That's the only thing that determines whether you make it or not. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep showing up? Or are you going to let today be the day you quit? Are you going to honor the commitment you made to yourself? Or are you going to break it? Because this moment right here, this is the moment that matters. This is the moment where you decide who you're going to be. This is the moment where you either step up or step back. This is the moment where you either prove you're serious or prove you're not. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. It's going to take everything you've got. But that's okay. Because you've got everything you need. You've got the ability to make a decision and stick to it. You've got the strength to push through discomfort. You've got the resilience to keep going when it's hard. You just have to use it. You just have to choose it. You just have to commit to it. So commit, right now. Commit to showing up. Commit to doing the work. Commit to being consistent. Commit to refusing to quit, no matter what happens. Because consistency beats everything. Consistency beats talent. Consistency beats luck. Consistency beats timing. Consistency beats everything. And if you commit to being consistent, if you commit to showing up every day, if you commit to doing the work no matter what, you're going to make it. You're going to achieve what you're working toward. You're going to become who you're trying to become. But you have to start. You have to commit. You have to decide right now that this is what you're doing and nothing is going to stop you. So decide. Make the choice. And then honor that choice every single day for the rest of your life. Because that's what consistency is. That's what it takes. That's what separates the people who make it from the people who don't. Listen, most people live their entire lives in this weird middle ground. They're not completely failing, but they're definitely not winning either. They're just existing, going through the motions. Monday comes, they drag themselves out of bed. Friday comes, they celebrate surviving another week. And they do this for years, decades even. They convince themselves this is just how life is. But deep down, in that quiet moment before they fall asleep, they know they're capable of more. They know it, they feel it. But they've gotten so comfortable with their discomfort that change feels scarier than staying stuck. Going savage means you stop negotiating with the weak version of yourself. You know that voice in your head that always has an excuse ready? The one that says you'll start tomorrow, or next Monday, or after this one last thing? That voice needs to die. Not metaphorically, actually die. Because as long as you're listening to that version of yourself, you're going to keep getting the same results. And if you're honest with yourself, those results aren't good enough. Here's what nobody tells you about going savage. It's not loud. It's not about posting on social media every day about your grind. It's not about telling everyone what you're doing. In fact, the most savage moves happen in complete silence. While everyone else is sleeping, you're working. While they're out celebrating mediocre achievements, you're studying your craft. While they're complaining about how hard life is, you're making life bend to your will through sheer persistence. I remember hearing about this guy who wanted to completely change his body. He was overweight, out of shape, unhappy. But here's the thing. He didn't tell anyone what he was doing. No Instagram posts, no Facebook updates, no group chats about his new workout plan. He just disappeared into his own world. 6 months later, people didn't even recognize him. And when they asked how he did it, his answer was simple. He stopped talking and started doing. That's savage. That's what it looks like when someone decides they're done living below their potential. Going savage means you develop this ruthless honesty with yourself. You stop lying. You stop making excuses. You stop blaming circumstances. You look in the mirror and you have a real conversation. Not the surface level stuff. The deep stuff. Why are you really not where you want to be? And before you start pointing fingers at your childhood, your parents, your city, your job, stop. Yes, those things might have played a role in getting you here, but they don't have to play a role in keeping you here. That's the part most people miss. They spend so much energy explaining why they are the way they are that they forget they have the power to become someone completely different. You know what I've noticed? The people who actually transform their lives have this one thing in common. They reach a breaking point, not the kind where they break down, the kind where they break through. It's like they've been carrying around this weight for so long, and one day they just put it down, not because someone told them to, not because they read some book or watched some video. They just decide that carrying it isn't worth it anymore. And from that moment on, everything changes. But here's where it gets real. Going savage isn't about being angry or aggressive. It's about being focused. It's about having such a clear vision of where you're going that nothing can knock you off track. You know those people who seem unstoppable? They're not superhuman. They're not special. They just decided that their goals matter more than their comfort. And they made that decision not once, but every single day. Sometimes multiple times a day. Let me tell you something that might sting a little bit. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to start, you've already lost. Because the perfect moment doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. The moment you're in right now, listening to this is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. And the fact that it's not perfect is exactly why it's the right time. Because going savage means you work with what you have, not what you wish you had. I think about this all the time. We live in this world where everyone wants to feel ready before they start. They want to feel confident before they take action. They want to feel motivated before they begin. But that's backwards. Action creates confidence. Work creates motivation. You don't feel like doing it, then you do it. You do it first, and the feelings follow. That's what savage people understand that everyone else doesn't. And here's the brutal truth. Some of you listening to this right now aren't going to make it. Not because you can't, but because you won't. You'll hear these words, you'll feel inspired for maybe an hour, maybe a day, and then you'll go right back to who you were before. And that's fine. This message isn't for everyone. It's for the small percentage of people who are so tired of their own excuses that they're willing to do whatever it takes to change. If that's not you, that's okay. But if it is you, then you already know what you need to do. Going savage means you stop worrying about what other people think. And I know everyone says that, but do you actually live it? Because most people are performing their lives for an audience that isn't even paying attention. They make decisions based on what their friends will think, what their family will say, what strangers on the internet might comment. And in doing so, They sacrifice their own dreams for other people's opinions. That's not living. That's slowly dying while pretending to be alive. You want to know what freedom feels like? It's when you make a decision that makes absolutely no sense to anyone else, but you know in your core it's the right move for you. That's savage. When you can stand alone in your choices and not feel the need to explain yourself to people who aren't living your life. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions, not them. Here's something I learned the hard way. Discipline is not punishment, it's freedom. When you have the discipline to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not, you become unstoppable. Most people think discipline is about restriction. They think it's about denying yourself things you want, but it's the opposite. Discipline is what gives you everything you want. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, you're just dreaming. With it, you're building. And building takes time. That's another thing people don't want to hear. They want overnight success. They want the shortcut. They want to skip the hard part and go straight to the reward. But life doesn't work that way. Going savage means you embrace the long game. You understand that the work you put in today might not show results for months, maybe years, but you do it anyway because you're not motivated by instant gratification. You're motivated by the vision of who you're becoming. I think about the people who inspire me, the ones who actually made something of themselves. None of them had it easy. None of them just got lucky. They all went through hell. They all faced rejection. They all wanted to quit multiple times, but they didn't. They kept going when it made no sense to keep going. They kept believing when everyone around them stopped believing. That's the difference. That's what savage looks like in real life. You know what's interesting? Most people can handle one bad day. They can push through one tough week. But what separates the savage from everyone else is the ability to keep going when the tough days turn into tough months. When the struggle isn't temporary anymore, it's just life. That's when most people tap out. That's when they say it's too hard, it's not worth it, maybe this isn't for me. But savage people, they thrive in that space. Because they understand that pressure creates diamonds. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that actually scared you? Not the fake scared where you jump out of your comfort zone for 5 seconds and then run back. I'm talking about the real scared, the kind where you commit to something that has no guarantee of working out, where failure is a real possibility, where you might look stupid, where you might lose money, time, relationships. That's where growth lives, on the other side of fear. Going savage means you develop this different relationship with failure. Most people avoid failure at all costs. They play it safe. They never really try because if they never really try, they can never really fail. But savage people understand that failure is just information. It's feedback. It's the universe telling you what doesn't work so you can adjust and try again. Every failure gets you closer to success if you're willing to learn from it. And learning is another thing. Savage people are obsessed with learning, not just formal education. I'm talking about learning from every experience, learning from people who've done what they want to do, learning from their own mistakes, learning from other people's mistakes so they don't have to make the same ones. They treat life like one giant classroom, where every moment is an opportunity to get better. Here's what I've noticed about people who actually make it. They don't wait for someone to give them permission. They don't wait for the right credentials. They don't wait for someone to validate their dreams. They just start. Messy, imperfect, scared, but they start, and then they figure it out along the way. Because here's a secret that successful people know. Nobody knows what they're doing at first. Everyone is making it up as they go along. The only difference is some people let that stop them, and savage people use it as motivation to learn faster. You ever notice how some people can go through the worst situations and come out stronger, while others go through minor setbacks and completely fall apart? It's not about what happens to you, it's about how you interpret what happens to you. Savage people have this ability to reframe everything. They don't see problems, they see challenges. They don't see obstacles. They see opportunities to prove themselves. It's the same situation, different mindset, and mindset is everything. I know that sounds cliché, but it's true. Your mindset determines your actions. Your actions determine your results. Your results determine your life. So if you want to change your life, you have to start with your mindset. You have to start believing that you're capable of more than what you've shown so far. Not in some delusional way where you ignore reality, but in a way where you acknowledge where you are while refusing to stay there. Going savage means you stop seeking comfort. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose the easy path, you're choosing to stay the same. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, the difficult task, the uncomfortable situation, you're choosing to remain who you currently are. And if who you currently are was good enough, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. You know you need to change. You know you need to level up. The question is, are you actually going to do something about it? Here's the thing about change. It's not complicated. It's simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means you know exactly what you need to do. Wake up early, work out, eat better, study, practice your craft, build your skills. Simple. But doing it every single day when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when you have 1,000 reasons to skip just this once, that's where it gets hard. That's where most people quit. That's where savage people separate themselves from everyone else. I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine waking up 1 year from now. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing someone you're actually proud of. Someone who kept their promises to themselves. Someone who did the work when nobody was watching. Someone who turned their life around not because they had to, but because they decided to. How would that feel? Now ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice to make that real? Because here's what nobody tells you. Everything has a price. If you want to be in incredible shape, you're going to sacrifice late night snacks and sleeping in. If you want to build a business, you're going to sacrifice time with friends and weekend parties. If you want to master a skill, you're going to sacrifice entertainment and relaxation. Nothing is free. The question isn't whether you'll pay a price. The question is, which price are you willing to pay? The price of discipline or the price of regret? Going savage means you choose discipline every single time. Because discipline might be hard in the moment, but regret is hard forever. You can recover from a tough workout. You can't recover from looking back on your life and realizing you never even tried. That's the weight that will crush you, not the weight of hard work, the weight of wasted potential. Let me tell you about momentum. When you first start going savage, it's going to feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. Everything is hard. Every decision takes effort. Every action feels like you're fighting against yourself. But if you keep pushing, something incredible happens. That boulder starts moving, and once it starts moving, it gets easier. Not because the work got easier, but because you got stronger. And eventually, that boulder starts rolling on its own, and your job becomes maintaining momentum instead of creating it. But here's the catch. Momentum works both ways. Just like positive momentum builds on itself, negative momentum does too. Every time you skip a workout, it's easier to skip the next one. Every time you break a promise to yourself, it's easier to break the next one. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're training yourself to be weak. You're building negative momentum. And before you know it, you're right back where you started, wondering what happened. That's why going savage isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. It's a constant choice. It's waking up every single morning and deciding that today you're going to be better than yesterday. Not perfect, just better. 1% better. Because 1% better every day for a year doesn't make you 1% better. It makes you 37 times better. That's the power of compound growth. That's what happens when you go savage consistently over time. And consistency is the real secret. Not talent, not intelligence, not connections. Consistency. showing up when you don't want to, doing the work when you don't feel like it, staying focused when distractions are everywhere. That's what separates people who achieve their goals from people who just talk about them. Anyone can work hard for a day, for a week, maybe even a month. But can you work hard for a year, 5 years, 10 years? That's the real test. You know what I love about going savage? It changes how you see everything. Obstacles stop being problems and start being tests. Failures stop being endings and start being lessons. Hard work stops being something you avoid and starts being something you seek out. Because you understand that every challenge is making you stronger. Every setback is teaching you something. Every difficult moment is preparing you for what's coming next. And what's coming next is bigger than where you are now. But you have to be ready for it. You have to be developed enough, skilled enough, strong enough to handle it. That's why the struggle is necessary. That's why the hard times aren't just obstacles. They're training. They're preparing you for the life you say you want. Because if you got everything you wanted right now, you wouldn't be able to keep it. You'd lose it just as fast as you got it because you haven't become the person who can handle that level of success yet. Going savage means you focus on becoming that person. You stop chasing outcomes and start building character. You stop trying to get rich and start building the skills that make wealth inevitable. You stop trying to get fit and start building the habits that make health automatic. You understand that who you are determines what you have. So if you want different results, you need to become a different person. And becoming a different person requires you to let go of who you used to be. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They want to change, but they also want to stay the same. They want new results without new habits. They want a new life without leaving their old one. But it doesn't work that way. You can't upgrade your life without upgrading yourself. And you can't upgrade yourself while clinging to outdated versions of who you were. Think about a snake. When it outgrows its skin, it has to shed it. It's uncomfortable, it's vulnerable, but it's necessary for growth. You're the same way. There's a version of you that got you here. That version served its purpose. But if you want to go further, you need to shed that skin. You need to let go of old habits, old beliefs, old identities that no longer serve you. It's uncomfortable. You'll feel exposed, but it's the only way to grow. Going savage means you get comfortable being uncomfortable. You understand that growth lives outside your comfort zone, so you intentionally put yourself in situations that challenge you. You have conversations you'd rather avoid. You take on projects that scare you. You set goals that seem impossible, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you know that's how you evolve. And evolution is what this is really about. You're not trying to be someone else. You're trying to become the highest version of yourself. The version that lives somewhere inside you right now, waiting to be unleashed. Going savage is about removing everything that's blocking that version from emerging. The fear, the doubt, the limiting beliefs, the bad habits. All of it has to go. Here's a hard truth. Some people in your life won't like the new you. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're different. They'll try to pull you back to who you used to be because your growth makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of their own lack of progress. And instead of being inspired by your transformation, they'll be threatened by it. This is normal. This is expected. This is part of the process. Going savage means you keep going anyway. You don't shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. You don't dim your light so others don't feel bad about their darkness. You love them from a distance if you have to, but you don't let them stop you. Because at the end of your life, you're not going to regret the relationships you lost while becoming who you were meant to be. You're going to regret not becoming that person because you were too worried about what other people thought. Let me tell you what happens when you fully commit to going savage. You start attracting different people, better people, people who are also on a mission, people who understand sacrifice, people who celebrate your wins instead of being jealous of them. Your circle gets smaller, but stronger, quality over quantity, And these people don't just support you, they challenge you. They push you. They hold you accountable because they're on the same path. And the path isn't easy. Anyone who tells you it gets easier is lying. It doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. The weights don't get lighter. You just get more capable of lifting them. The problems don't get smaller. You just get better at solving them. That's the real transformation. Not your circumstances changing, you changing. Going savage means you take full responsibility for your life. No more blaming, no more excusing, no more explaining why things are the way they are. You acknowledge the past, but you don't live there. You understand that while you can't control what happened to you, you can control what you do about it. And what you do about it is everything. You know what's powerful? When you stop being a victim and start being a creator. When you stop reacting to life and start designing it. When you stop waiting for things to happen and start making things happen. That shift in mindset changes everything. Because suddenly you're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're the one creating the circumstances. And creating takes energy. It takes focus. It takes time. That's why going savage means you protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. You can't afford to waste energy on drama, on gossip, on negative people, on things you can't control. Every bit of energy you have needs to go toward building the life you want. Anything else is a distraction. Distractions are everywhere. Social media, entertainment, other people's opinions, small talk, busy work. Things that make you feel productive without actually moving you forward. Going savage means you ruthlessly eliminate distractions. You guard your time. You guard your attention. You guard your mind. Because these are your most valuable resources, and once they're gone, you can't get them back. Time is the one thing you can't buy more of. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference is how you use them. Savage people use their time intentionally. They schedule their days. They plan their weeks. They know exactly what they need to accomplish, and they don't waste time on things that don't matter. Meanwhile, average people let time happen to them. They react. They get distracted. They wonder where the day went. Going savage means you respect time. You understand that every moment you waste is a moment you'll never get back. So you use your time wisely, not perfectly, wisely. You prioritize what matters. You say no to things that don't align with your goals. You make tough choices about how you spend your hours, because you know that how you spend your time is how you spend your life. Let me ask you something. If someone watched your daily routine, would they know what your goals are? Because your actions tell the truth. You can say you want to be successful, but if you're spending 4 hours a day watching TV, your actions say something different. You can say health is important, but if you're eating fast food every day, your actions say something different. Going savage means your actions match your words. What you do every day matters more than what you say you want. And what you do every day becomes who you are. That's the scary part. You think it's just one bad day, one cheat meal, one skipped workout, but those one times add up. They become patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become character. Character becomes destiny. So when you skip that workout, you're not just skipping one session. You're reinforcing a pattern of quitting when things get hard. When you eat that junk food, you're not just having one meal. You're reinforcing a pattern of choosing immediate pleasure over long-term health. Going savage means you see the bigger picture. You understand that every choice is either moving you toward your goals or away from them. There's no neutral. You're either building or destroying, growing or decaying, moving forward or falling back, and you make your choices based on where you want to go, not how you feel in the moment. Feelings are important, but they can't be in charge, because feelings change every few hours. You feel motivated in the morning, tired by afternoon, energized in the evening, exhausted at night. If you let your feelings make your decisions, you'll never accomplish anything. Going savage means you acknowledge your feelings without letting them control you. You feel tired, but you work out anyway. You feel scared, but you take action anyway. You feel like quitting, but you keep going anyway. That's mental strength. And mental strength is built the same way physical strength is built, through resistance. Every time you do something you don't want to do, you're building mental muscle. Every time you push through discomfort, you're getting mentally stronger. Every time you override your emotions with your commitments, you're training yourself to be unstoppable. And unstoppable is what you need to be. Because life is going to test you. It's going to throw everything at you. Bad days, bad weeks, bad months, unexpected challenges, unfair situations, setbacks that make no sense. And the only way through all of that is to be mentally unbreakable, to have such a strong foundation that nothing can shake you. Going savage means you build that foundation. You work on yourself when nobody's watching. You develop yourself when there's no external reward. You strengthen yourself when life is calm, so you're ready when the storm comes. Because the storm always comes. The question is, will you be ready for it? Most people aren't ready. They wait until the crisis hits to start building strength. But by then it's too late. You can't build strength during the storm. You have to build it before. That's why savage people are always working on themselves, always learning, always growing, always preparing. Not because something bad is about to happen, but because they know that being prepared makes them confident, and confidence makes them effective. Effectiveness is what matters, not effort, results. You can work hard and get nowhere if you're working on the wrong things. Going savage means you're strategic. You think about what you're doing and why. You ask yourself if this action is moving you closer to your goal. If it's not, you stop doing it. You don't waste time on activities that make you feel busy but don't produce results. And results take time. That's the part nobody wants to hear. We live in a world of instant gratification, fast food, quick results, overnight success. But real transformation doesn't work that way. Real transformation is slow, gradual, almost invisible day to day, but over time it's massive. The person you are today is the result of thousands of small decisions you made over the past few years. And the person you'll be in a few years is being created right now by the decisions you're making today. Going savage means you play the long game. You're not looking for quick fixes or shortcuts. You're building something real. Something lasting, something that can't be taken away from you. And that takes time, it takes patience, it takes faith that the work you're doing today will pay off tomorrow, even though you can't see the results yet. Faith is huge. Not religious faith, though that can be part of it. I'm talking about faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith that if you keep showing up, keep working, keep improving, eventually you'll break through. Most people quit right before the breakthrough happens. They work for months, see minimal results, and give up, not knowing that they were one more month away from everything clicking into place. Going savage means you never quit. You might pivot, you might adjust your strategy, you might change your approach, but you never quit on yourself. You never give up on your goals. You never stop believing that you're capable of more, because belief is what sustains you when evidence is lacking. Belief is what keeps you going when logic says you should stop. Belief is what makes the impossible possible, and the impossible is only impossible until someone does it. Remember when people said humans couldn't run a 4-minute mile? Then Roger Bannister did it, and within a few years hundreds of people did it. The barrier wasn't physical, it was mental. Once someone proved it was possible, everyone else believed they could do it too. That's the power of belief. You don't need someone else to prove it's possible. You can be the one who breaks through first. You can be the one who shows others what's achievable. But first, you have to believe in yourself more than anyone else does. You have to trust your vision, even when nobody else can see it. You have to keep working, even when everyone thinks you're crazy. Going savage means you're willing to be misunderstood. You're willing to look foolish. You're willing to fail publicly. Because you know that judgment from people who aren't pursuing anything meaningful means nothing. Their opinions don't pay your bills. Their doubt doesn't determine your destiny. Their limitations don't have to be your limitations. You set your own limits, or better yet, you refuse to set limits at all. You keep pushing to see how far you can go. You keep testing yourself to see what you're made of. You keep challenging yourself to see what you're capable of. Not because you need to prove anything to anyone else, but because you need to prove it to yourself. Self-respect comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and you do it, you build trust with yourself. Every time you set a goal and achieve it, you prove to yourself that you're capable. Every time you push through when you want to quit, you earn your own respect. And once you have your own respect, nothing else matters. You don't need external validation. You don't need other people's approval. You know who you are and what you're capable of. Going savage is ultimately about becoming the person you know you can be, not the person others expect you to be, not the person society tells you to be. The person you see when you close your eyes and imagine your highest potential. That person exists. They're inside you right now. The question is, what are you going to do to bring them out? Because they won't emerge on their own. You have to work for it. You have to fight for it. You have to sacrifice for it. You have to earn the right to become that person, and the price is everything. Your comfort, your excuses, your old identity, everything that's been holding you back has to go. That's what going savage really means. It means you're willing to burn down who you were to become who you need to be. It means you're willing to walk through fire because you know there's treasure on the other side. It means you're willing to be alone because being true to yourself matters more than being accepted by people who don't understand your vision. So here's my question for you. Are you ready? Are you ready to stop playing small? Are you ready to stop making excuses? Are you ready to stop waiting for permission, for the right time, for perfect conditions? Are you ready to go savage on the life you've been settling for? Because if you are, everything changes. Starting right now.